you can miss out on Kittle. You can miss out on Jimmy Ward for this week 1 matchup. Tom's the color guy for them. He's very tapped in.
Yep.
But I'm just looking at this Bears roster compared to the 49ers right now, and I just don't see there being any chance that the Bears can win this game, even if George Kittle is out. Like, I really don't. I don't understand. I'm not afraid to say that, look, this could easily be a 34-13 game for the 49ers.
Wow.
I really think so.
Even without Kittle.
Now, back to the morning roast with Vontae and Shasky.
It's a little party shot to our friend, our brother, Stephen Langford, who's moved on to bigger and better things at KCB, has said, listen, we all thought the Niners were going to win that football game. But Shasky, I've been saying it. I have a healthy fear. Week 1, weird things happen. And when Kittle got announced that he was out, and I knew that the rain was going to come in.
Yeah, but we didn't know the rain was going to be like that. When I saw rain, I'm just saying me. I don't know about you.
Right.
When I saw rain, I was like, it'll rain a little. That was not a little rain. That looked like a straight-up monsoon.
By Saturday night, we all knew it was going to be a monsoon. Everybody was saying, it's going to get nasty. It's going to be nasty. And thank God we packed our hoodies and our puff coats to brace for it. And I woke up and I said, this is really nasty. And the only thing I regretted about yesterday is not slamming the under in that 49ers-Bears game. It was at 40.5. It dropped to 37.5. And I said, I'm going to just wait on it. Well, it was 29 total points. The under was a lock yesterday. So I just wanted to give nice guy a nice little party shot there because everybody thought this was going to be a blowout. And it was a complete opposite. The Shanahan era. That was the 4th most penalties ever in a Shanahan coach game with the 49ers. The 4th most penalties. To see this defense commit that many penalties, 3 15-yarders, I will say there were some phantom calls, like the Javon Kinlaw holding call, right? They called Javon Kinlaw for defensive holding. I watched the back judge, Shasky, in the back of the end zone next to the goalpost, throw his flag after the play. I'm like, what is he saying? He calls 99 for defensive holding. I want you later on to go watch that playback. Javon Kinlaw was double-teamed on the play. I don't know what the hell the back judge saw, but it gave the Bears a first down instead of a second down. And next thing you know, the Niners were basically like, you know what? This game may not be it for us. The Bears score a couple plays later, game over. I don't know what the hell the back judge saw, but there was a lot of questionable calls yesterday at Soldier Field.
Well, and the one that I do believe that we're going to look at not just I'm talking about NFL as a whole, is the quarterback sliding one, which you've referenced already.
Right.
It feels a lot like the pump fake lean in the NBA, where guys have taken it to the next level.
Yep.
The quarterback's allowed to slide at the very last moment, and then if they don't want to slide, no one wants to hit them because they're fearful of getting a 15-yard penalty, so they get 3, 4, 5, 7 extra yards. Russell Wilson's great at this. And then they slide into you. And then you have nowhere to go on a wet field, and you fall on that individual, or you're trying to slow yourself up, automatic 15 yards. I mean, the Al-Shaair one, I just don't know where he's supposed to go on that.
That's a tough one. That's a tough one. They're going to call it every time.
Then he gets called to go in the blue tent, and I'm like, wait a minute.
I know.
What are we doing here?
I know. It was
a love tap.
By the way, Jerry Rice, the GOAT, is going to join us at 8:30. 8:30, Jerry Rice will join the morning roast and give us his thoughts on what went down yesterday at Soldier Field as the Niners lose 19-10. Shasky back in the studio in San Francisco. I'm out here in Chicago.
Yeah.
Still, and everybody's looking at me crazy, Shasky, because I'm still wearing my Niners gear.
Good.
And they've got a little smirk on their face. By the way, can I say something real quick before you go off? Bear fans, maybe the softest fan base in all of sports. Those jokers didn't say a word to me for the first 2.5 quarters. The first 2.5 quarters, we're the Bears. We suck. We're not going to be any good. You guys should be it. It was la. Can you please sit down, please? And I'm like, no, I'm not sitting down. My team's on the field. Yeah. They're flying around the football, hitting people. I'm fired up. It's week 1. Those jokers started talking a lot of mess as soon as they got little points on the board. They got a first down. Oh, yeah, we finally got a first down. Woohoo. Bear fans, you're soft. I was very disappointed in the monsters of the Midway. Their fan base is soft. So soft. They started talking. Now they got these little smirks like, you guys lost to us. They know they're weak, Shasky. That's what's so frustrating. Bears fans know the Bears are weak.
Okay. I mean, I'm going to have to take your word for it. I haven't seen them in person when it comes to their actual fans. But getting back to the game itself, Bonte, how many 49er fans wanted Jimmy in that game? Because I'm watching that game, and I keep coming back to it. My text messages were going crazy with certain people. Jimmy. I'm like, what is Jimmy going to do? How many plays did Trey make with his legs where there was no play? Like, I don't know who's throwing the ball in those conditions. They dropped three balls behind the line of scrimmage yesterday that were in guys' hands.
If you tell me that you think Jimmy should have played in that game and they would have won that game, it tells me that you didn't watch the game and you haven't watched Jimmy Garoppolo closely over the last 4 years. And I like Jimmy. He would have got murdered in that game yesterday. He would have got murdered, okay? He would have got murdered behind that offensive line in those conditions, and it would have had to run the ball over and over and over again. Trey Lance made things happen because he is mobile in the pocket. He does step up in the pocket. I thought he had a great first down where it was a third down play, and it looked like he was going to run, and he fired a dart to Ross Dwelly. I was like, wow, look at Trey Lance settle in the pocket, make a throw from the pocket by scrambling a little bit.
Yeah,
the whole
that was
Jimmy
a great throw on third down.
Great throw on third down.
And there was no play to be made. Both tackles were getting collapsed in. Time and time again, the guy looked pretty damn good in the pocket. The step up to Ayuk was a beautiful throw. The throw to McLeod was gorgeous. There are some plays that you see on film and you're like, wow, he's flashing here. And then there's a lot of things he needs to clean up. But it's hard for me to take away any evaluation. And this is not an excuse. It's an explanation. It was a pouring downpour of monsoon. Bonte.
To be fair, Shasky, the monsoon only took place in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, but Bonte, that was when they were down the most, and they had to throw from behind.
But you know what? They shouldn't have been down. That's the whole point of this exercise.
Agree with that.
They shouldn't have been down 14-10 to the damn Bears.
They
shouldn't have been down.
I agree
with that. 14-0 at
but
least.
Did he fumble? Did he fumble in the red zone?
No, Debo did.
Was he the one that ran it on first and second down? When it was first and goal from the 6. Okay, first and goal from the 6. They're up 7-0. They run with Jeff Wilson Jr. Get stuffed. They run again with Jeff Wilson Jr. Tackle for loss, and then on third down he drops back. It's all slants. No one's open. I don't want him fitting it into a window and turning it over. He takes a sack there, and they have to kick a field goal. Can you throw the ball? And I'm going to Shanahan. Throw the ball into the end zone here. 14. That game's over.
Here's the deal. On that second down play that you mentioned, where Jeff Wilson Jr. got tackled for a loss of 2 yards. Go back and watch Juwan Jennings try to make a block. He blew his block. That was the story of the game. These guys in situational football, those little plays.
Croft missed a ton of blocks.
Croft missed a ton. Juwan Jennings let his guy just go inside. Briscoe is his name. Jaquan Brisker, the strong safety, number 9. Jaquan Brisker just blows up Juwan Jennings and stuffs Jeff Wilson Jr. Juwan Jennings gets his hat on him. That's a touchdown.
Yeah.
It's a touchdown for Jeff Wilson Jr. So they're not executing at a high level.
Debo fumbling in the red zone. Like when Jimmy Garoppolo threw picks in the red zone, we lost our minds. If Trey Lance were to throw an interception, and he did in the middle of the field, but in the red zone, we'd lose our minds. Debo fumbling, whether it's the rain, the wetness, whatever, I'm expecting my superstar player, who I just gave a boatload of money to not fumble on one of the most crucial possessions of the year.
Yeah, Deebo Samuel, outside of the jet sweeps, he had 2 catches for 14 yards. 2 catches,
and
14 yards.
A drop on a screen that they snuffed out.
A terrible drop. And by the way, Brandon Ayuk, I need more than 2 targets for Brandon Ayuk.
I agree.
Brandon Ayuk is too damn talented to walk off a football field with only 2 targets in a passing game. Juwan Jennings had 6 targets yesterday. 6. Brandon Ayuk had 2. Brandon Ayuk, you have to utilize this guy. This guy has potential to be a superstar. I watched Minnesota yesterday. Justin Jefferson's everywhere. They scheme everything for him, and they force feed that guy the ball. Can I get Ayuk involved more in the passing game? Please.
But you also have to protect, right? That's another element of it. And I think that the weather really, I'm telling you, it's not an excuse. It's an explanation. They couldn't block yesterday. Now, maybe the field is gorgeous and they still can't block, but I'm with you on throwing the ball to Ayuk more.
And I got one last thing before we go to talk Big T about the rain and the monsoon. We all said, this is 49ers weather.
Yeah.
The 49ers are the more physical team. They got the more physical team. They're the hard-hitting team. They run the football. Well, so I don't want to hear any excuses today about the rain and the monsoon because we saw the Niners go up to Green Bay and kick their ass in the playoffs. All right, we seen them go to bad weather places and play physical football.
Yeah, but in that game, they didn't score any offensive touchdowns. You know what I mean? Like, they got a special teams blunder, and that's how they were able to capitalize.
I don't want to hear anything about the rain. Well, that's not an excuse. You're the better football team. Even without George Kittle, you're the more talented football team. You have the better head coach. You have the better play caller.
But wouldn't you agree that the weather equalized the game? You can't meet me in the middle and say that the weather equalized the game a little?
The first 3 quarters, the weather was not a factor.
But the field was horrific.
The field
guys
was
couldn't
move. Guys were moving around fine. I disagree with that.
When Justin Fields ran around, 4 guys fell on the defensive line. Just fell.
You got to break down and just be careful. The guys were going in recklessly trying to knock Justin Fields' head off. Well, tackle.
They missed a ton of tackles. That is undeniable.
Let's go to Talk Big T at Fairfield. Talk Big T. What's happening? You're on the roast.
Good morning, gentlemen. So,
what's up?
A lot of guys stole my thunder. You guys done hit on everything that I wanted to say. So I can't really say it with the same fervor that I want to say it with. So I'm going to just reiterate a couple things. Butcher, I agree with you about Debo. I've been saying it. That dude is a running back at this point.
Thank you.
Jeff Wilson, he don't have it. He was a nice little story in 18, 19.
Mm-hmm.
We need to move on.
Thank you.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure that we should have cut him and kept Hasty. Now, this is what I really want to call about. And I love this guy, but I'm talking about Shanahan. I love my coach. But, man, he gets so vanilla at sometimes. And how many 10-point second-half leads are we going to blow, fellas?
Yeah.
Now, when you have a 10-point lead, that's 2 scores, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking with this offensive genius, weather the storm, bro.
I know.
If they go up and they got the fluke touchdown, we up 10-7. Man, I need you to go back down, man, and give me a touchdown and get back up 10.
Yep.
And let my defense get some rest, and then we can kind of finish it off. But it seems like when these teams punch us in the mouth, we tuck our tail, and these teams make runs on us. They don't just stop at 7. They went on a 19-0 run
I know.
and finished the game. Like, I'm tired, man. How many times, fellas, and all these draft picks are starting to add up.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for Kittle, this guy's track record wouldn't be good.
You ain't lying.
Draft picks and all these free agencies. And the last thing before I go, fellas, let's stop referring to Trey Lance as the kid. It's just a pet peeve of mine. That's all.
Well, look, he's very inexperienced, and that's obvious.
Talk, Big T, that's all.
Yeah, no, he's very inexperienced, and that's obvious. But the quarterback is one of the 11 that's out there on the field. The bigger thing for me right now, because I actually feel good about Trey Lance, even though it wasn't a perfect performance by any means. But this offensive line, you got Jake Brendel starting in the center. You've got Burford and Banks, 3 unproven guys all next to each other. McGlinchey is mediocre. That's what he is. He's a mediocre tackle. And Trent Williams didn't look great yesterday.
No,
This offensive line looked totally overwhelmed by what I would deem to be an above-average defensive line for the Bears.
Yeah, no doubt. You are listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ, FM, and HD1 San Francisco. Always live on the free Odyssey app. Download the Odyssey app and favorite 95.7 The Game for the best and most up-to-date sports coverage. And don't forget that you can also watch us every single day on our YouTube and Twitch streams. Just log on and search 95.7 The Game. Joe Shasky back in the city of San Francisco. I'm out here in Chicago as the Niners lose week 1, 19-10. 19-10 to Justin Fields and the Chicago Bears. Bears scored 19 straight in the second half to steal week 1 and go 1-0. Niners, of course, 0-1. We'll see. We'll have updates on Kittle later in the week, whether or not he could play. But the offensive line, and you brought up Trent Williams. I watched him basically limp off the field at the end of the game.
Well, do you mean
he had a little limp to him.
Like an
injury? He had a little limp to him, and I don't know what's going on with him.
Or a strut?
Just the lip. I don't know if that's a strut or what, but I'm like, man, is he hurt? What's going on there? He didn't look right. But McGlinchey didn't look right. And this is why everybody keeps talking about the offensive line, saying, well, Shanahan's good enough to scheme around the offensive line. They should get to the playoffs. Shaska said it from day one. Since the damn NFL draft.
Yeah.
This offensive line concerns me. The offensive line concerns me. The offensive line concerns me. It will wreck the game. And I know Tampa Bay won yesterday in Dallas 19-3. How many times did Brady get hit?
Oh,
Brady's not going to survive.
No.
Under that. Like Burrow, he got hit numerous times by the Pittsburgh Steelers. Derek Carr and the Raiders. How many times did Derek Carr get sacked?
Aaron
and how
Rodgers.
many times did that Aaron Rodgers? It will wreck the game, and it will ruin your season, especially for a young quarterback. I just don't get it. You know you got this young toy in Trey Lance, this young hotshot quarterback. Why would you go into the draft and say, Let's go to cheap route with offensive linemen. Let's go high on TDP, Ty Davis-Price, and not even have them active for week one. Just like,
but Bonte,
it's mind-boggling to me.
It's not just that. They let Laken Tomlinson go, who was a stout guard for this team, above average.
I don't care how much it would have cost. I would have franchised Laken Tomlinson.
For 1 year, at minimum. You bring him back for 1 year.
Him.
Aaron Banks, who was a second-round pick, does not look good. Burford, we'll see. Obviously rookie, but those both guys very inexperienced. I believe they got like 3 games starting between the two of them. And then you got Jake Brendel, who most people could not pick out. If he walked into their house and tried to serve them dinner today, you wouldn't know who the hell he is. McGlinchey's been mediocre. That's who he is. He's been mediocre. I wouldn't have picked up the 5th-year option. They did. I told you in real time I didn't like that decision.
I didn't like it either.
and then you talked about the running backs. They draft Sermon. They draft TDP. Sermon's not on this team right now. And TDP doesn't even suit up yesterday. So I think it's fair to question not just the draft capital, but the money and how they put together that middle of that offensive line.
So Mike Shanahan gets a lot of credit for all the running backs he drafted and got for the cheap in Denver and all the different 1,000-yard running backs. I'm not going to call Kyle Shanahan a running back genius this morning because they've missed on way too many running backs.
Jerick
McKinnon, Joe Williams, JaMychal Hasty, Trey Sermon. TDP, I ain't seen nothing yet from him. I haven't. People told me he looked good at training camp. He didn't look good to me. He looked okay. Just okay. All right? Jordan Mason, we're counting on an undrafted rookie running back
he did look
to
good,
save
though.
them.
Look, I'm not saying he has to save them. Can he get a couple touches? Like Jeff Wilson Jr. didn't break no tackles. He had no juice. Just give somebody else a look. But this is where I'm going back to. Debo needs to be the primary running back. I mean, that's where we're at now.
Who's that?
Debo needs to be their primary running back, and they need to look, and they need to either play Danny Gray. They need better wide receiver production for separation to create throws downfield, and just throw Debo back there. You've already paid him the money. Just figure it out. Put him back there. That's how you maximize the roster.
I don't. And I'm seeing a YouTube chat here. Sean Bullard, Kareem Hunt was on the market for the cheap. Well, I would take Kareem
yesterday.
Hunt.
I would have taken him yesterday.
And you know what? This regime and Shanahan and John Lynch, they've built up enough equity to take a chance on a guy like that. Okay, he has bad character. He's going to want to get paid. But, Devin, I need a home run hitter in the backfield. I need one. I need a guy who I can count on for 20 carries a game. Like, you have to give Deebo Samuel jet sweeps to make him effective and make the running game effective. But that's not running the football to
that's
me.
What
like
I'm
those
saying.
rushing
I
yards
want I formation.
Like these rushing yards. Yeah, I want I formation.
Because
and I want to hit people in the mouth.
Juszczyk is one of your highest paid players, and he is a good fullback. But when you take him off the field, I feel like the running game suffers, and that's the area where they miss George Kittle the most was in the run game.
So I see rushing yards, right? It says 176 rushing yards.
Yeah, but what in the second half when Elijah Mitchell went down?
Right, exactly. Nothing. Jeff Wilson Jr., 9 carries, 22 yards.
9?
Trey Lance had 54 of those yards. Deebo Samuel had 52 of those yards. That's 100 yards from your quarterback and wide receiver. Outside of Elijah Mitchell, you got 22 from. You got to get a running back, man. This is a problem.
The first drive of the second half in the third quarter, Lance gets a 6-yard run, first down. Wilson run, Lance run, Wilson run again, and there was just nothing. They got nothing once they got into the goal line. They were up 7-0. Lance takes the sack on third down. They go up 10-0. Then you roll it back on defense, and that's the sequence where Greenlaw gets the penalty. All right. Very next play, Gibson drops the interception. Boom, a Pettis touchdown. It was all in succession. You don't score the touchdown, then you get the personal foul, then you give up the dropped interception, and then boom, a Dante Pettis coming back to haunt you, 50-yard touchdown.
I never want to hear anybody try to tell me that momentum does not exist.
Oh, my God.
Because I was sitting in that stadium.
You could feel it.
That crowd started rocking as soon as Dante Pettis scored. They all of a sudden, Bear fans who sat on their asses the entire first half. They sat on their asses the entire first half. All of a sudden, Pettis scores, and Bear fans were rocking, singing their little touchdown dance. They were cocky. They were chanting Jimmy G. They were talking a lot. Momentum exists, folks. That switched the entire momentum of that football game. Let's go back out to the lines. 888-957-9570. We got a couple calls here I want to get to before the break. Then we'll get everybody on here. Joe in Pacifica. Joe, what's happening? You're on the roast.
So what's up, guys? Good morning. Look, I think you guys have talked about this in the past before. The book's out on John Lynch and even Shanahan, since he's part of the drafting process. But I mean, you got to give him props for like nailing some of these late round picks. But at some point, missing on these early round picks is going to come. And with the, like you guys said, I mean, this offensive line, the interior part, has been an issue since last year. And then now that you lose Max, you lose Latham Thompson to the Jets, and then you don't address it other than getting 3 kids. I mean, I don't understand what the thinking process is when you have a young quarterback who's playing his 3rd or 4th professional game, and you don't address the offensive line. I don't get the formula for what I heard John Lynch talking over the weekend about building from the trenches, building from the defensive line. Hey, that's great. But when you keep drafting defensive linemen as one of your 1st or 2nd picks overall in the draft and not addressing, getting interior linemen, maybe even getting a backup tight end for George Kittle, building that secondary a little bit, I mean, they're whiffing on quite a few picks. I mean, I don't get it. I mean, but these guys are deep. I still feel confident. I like what I saw from Trey. They're going to make the playoffs. Whether or not they'll make it to the Super Bowl and win it, at this point, chapter 1 of a long book.
Joe, thanks for the call. We're not talking Super Bowl today. That did not look like a Super Bowl team. They're a long way away from that.
The part that's a gut puncher is, think about this organization. You don't win a game, and you have to go on the road in the 2013 playoffs and play Seattle up in Seattle, and you don't get that bye. Think about just last year. You had to fight tooth and nail the final 3 weeks of the year to get into the playoffs. Think about what they did in 2019. You had to win a game in Week 17 in Seattle to get the division and get the bye. If you don't think that every game matters, you're not paying attention.
You're not. Lamar and Hayward, before we hit the break, what's going on? You're on the roast.
Hey, I just wanted to I think it's time we stop calling Kyle Shanahan an offensive genius.
Yeah.
We're attaching his father's legacy to him. He has never been a genius on our offense has never been ranked top 5 or never been prolific. It's never looked you see how Kansas City's offense looks against Arizona?
Yeah, they look great.
Never looks like that.
They look great. I told you. Hey,
never looks like that.
Go ahead, Lamar.
So
Go ahead.
That's done. And then as far as I heard Butcher Boy say Debo, what you guys saying, put Debo in the backfield. It's one game. It was muddy. It's hard to get separation in a muddy game. Debo had 1,400 receiving yards last year. So, and part of his biggest weapon is that he's a dual threat. I think we just need to slow down with that for a second.
Well, he had a bunch of yak yards too, though. Like, that's part of the Debo element. I'm not taking anything away from him. I'm telling you, if we were just ranking wide receivers in terms of running the routes, like Devontae's at the top of the league, right? Devontae Adams is on a whole nother level than everyone else. Debo is not one of the elite route runners, and that's not why I'm paying him. He's not really a receiver. He's a great football player. That's why I paid him, because once the ball's in his hands, he's running over or through people.
Yeah, but the jet sweeps, people were on that. The Bears were on that. Once they ran a couple of those, the Bears are sniffing that out left and right. So, Shanahan, genius, I'm not there either. Good play caller. I didn't like the game plan too much yesterday, especially the second half, but we'll get into it. 888-957-9570. Georgia Little Rock, Rob, Trey. We'll get to all of you and all your phone calls. 888-957-9570. What went wrong for the 49ers? What's your opinion? Trey Lance. We haven't even delved into the defense at Nazim, Bosa, Armstead, Shasky. I hate to say it. I didn't see a lot from Armstead yesterday. I didn't see a lot.
He fell. He made great pressure on the play where Justin Fields ran around and threw the bomb to Pettis, but he slipped and fell.
I didn't see a lot from Eric Armstead. I'm just saying. We're going to talk all about that. Sponsored by BMW. BMW Fairfield, now open at the Fairfield Auto Mall. They provide a luxurious, all-encompassing experience to address all of your BMW needs. Visit BMWFairfield.com today to book your visit. That's BMWFairfield.com.